So last time we had seen the program for arrays where we were taking the union, intersection and probably a minus b. That is what we have done, and we have written one important function called as is present. We can also write a few functions related to array, like read array, to which I can pass the array name, and the entire reading job will be done inside the function. That I can ask the user as how many elements are there, read all the elements and refer back to the calling program. Like I can say printf how many, read the number of elements n, and then read those elements in that array in the respective positions starting from 0. After reading job is over, we should return how many values are read, n. Now in main, I can have say int p square bracket say 100 comma m, and I can say that I can also have one more array, say let me call this as mp q square bracket 100 mq. I can say that mp is equal to read arr p. Similarly, mq equal to read arr q, and the two arrays will be read. After reading the first array, it will again ask how many and will read the second array. What we are passing from here is p or q. That will be treated as array A inside the function, and what it returns n will be stored either in mp or in the next call in mq. Okay. Now what one has to understand is, when we have said that the earlier function that we had called max m comma n or max a comma b, we were saying that the value is copied to the parameter. Okay. And we have also said that the variable inside the function and the variable which is over here, the calling parameter, this is what we call it as the call, and that will be the actual parameter. We have said that the values will be transferred from call to the actual parameters, from calling parameters to the actual parameters, and though the names could be same, they actually are different memory locations. Now when we go for arrays, some important points are to be remembered when we discuss the array. The first point over here, array name contains the starting address of allocated memory. Array name contains the starting address of allocated memory. That means if you have declared int a square bracket 20, then there will be memory allocation of in all 40 bytes, position 0, position 1, etc. up to position 19. And array name will contain the address of this location, that will be A. one of the very important point, that the array name contains the starting address of the allocated memory. And so when we are passing the array name as a parameter, when we are passing the array name as the parameter, in that case we are passing this particular starting address. In that case we are passing the starting address. That means whatever is this address, this particular location will have some address, say 2058 could be the address of this memory location. Address, it is 2 bytes actually, so 2058, 2059 are the 2 bytes which are consumed by the memory location 0 in that particular array. Of course, the next element will be at 2060 and 2061 and so on. So 2 bytes, there is an increment of 2 bytes to calculate address of each element. But the starting address or address of the 0th element, that is 2058, will be stored in the array name. When you are calling the function by using the array as a parameter, then in that case this particular address will be copied. This particular address will be copied to that particular array name. So I might be having some array P declared over here. This is array P. It contains address of the first location. Now when I call the function, then array name, that is the address, will be transferred to A. Address will be transferred to A. And A will use the same memory location. So A in turn will refer to the same memory location. Whenever we call the function using array as the parameter, in that case the address, starting address of that particular array will be transferred to the function, and that array name will refer to the same array, same memory location, because it uses the same address. Ultimately we will say that the calling function and called function, calling function and called function use same memory for the array. Of course, the one which is passed as parameter. One of the most important thing, this is quite different from the earlier function that we have said, that the variable inside the function and outside the function will have different memory locations. Okay, make a note. This was the function that we have written earlier. This is how that function is called. Called as this. So from here we are calling the function, calling function read ARR. Passes address. Array A refers to same memory. So what you pass over here is the address, and array, which is common array from the calling function to the called function, will share the same memory. For the time being, this much details, these many details should be more than sufficient, because there is no point in discussing the address feature in detail. We can say that if the parameter is not the array parameter, in that case, if the parameter is not the array parameter, the two memory locations will be different. If it is array parameter, the memory is shared between the calling function and the called function. Array name will always contain the address of the starting element or the first element in that particular array. Are we through with this job? Anybody has any doubt? So passing the variable is a different thing, passing the array is a different thing. Today we will go for some more interesting functions which are related to arrays only. In college, where are you right now? Which assignment you are doing? Sets only. Recursion. Okay, so today we will go for the functions where we will be extensively using one-dimensional array. And it is not the array of numbers or integers, but it will be array of characters. Also known as strings. Will be declared as, say, char s square bracket, whatever size you want to specify. For inputting the string, there are two inputs which are possible. One, let me give a different name to this, say P. One is, say, scanf %s P. Now you will understand why I am giving only P. Because array name is nothing but the starting location, the address. And for strings, as we are getting the successive characters, I should specify the address. In all other cases, when I am using, say, a %d, ampersand a is the address of a. Now here, if P itself is the address, why should I write ampersand a? It's not required. I am not going to read it character by character. It will be read as one shot, unlike integers. Okay. This is one input. Other input will be getS P, get string. Two different functions. Both are library functions. Only thing is, getS will allow us the input with spaces. and this will be without spaces. If the input is, say, this is easy, if this is the sample input, then in that case through this the input will be one, 2, 3, 4, 5. Position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is \0, which is a special character. Because scanf has got a property that it terminates on space. So using scanf function, you cannot accept the spaces. Though the input remains the same, the rest of the input will be stored in the buffer, keyboard buffer, input buffer. Whereas if you go through getS, then it is possible that you will have the entire input. Up to \0, including full stop, spaces, everything. So one should understand as what type of input you want to take, whether it is with spaces or without spaces. Okay, whether you are allowing the user to input the space or not. Of course, in both the cases, you can see that \0 is end of string marker. And it will be generated automatically on input. This character will be specifically put at the end of the input string, but this will be generated only through the input. Otherwise, you will have to copy it. This character will be automatically written at the end of the string when it is input. \0 is put at the end while inputting. You don't have to explicitly give it. So this is a string. Now in case of integers, you won't have this \0, and that's why for integers you will have to remember the length separately, that how many elements are there. Here I don't have to remember the length. Here I can go on reading the characters. Whenever I find \0, I know that this is the end of the array. In case of integers, it won't happen so. In case of integers, it will be always how many elements are there. Up to that position only you can go. Okay? There is no special character, special value which is written at the end of integer arrays. Okay? Make a note. Also note that position of \0 gives length of the string. that is number of characters. So in first case it is this is the only word, so the length is 4 and position of backslash 0 is 4, whereas in the second case length of the string is 13. It includes spaces, full stop and all other characters. So it is 4 plus 4 8 plus 2 10 plus 2 spaces 12 plus full stop 13, occupying position 0 to 12, backslash 0 at position 13. Now the next job. To find the length of the string. I will start with saying I equal to 0. While the character at position I in array P is not equal to backslash 0, go to the next position. So I check I is 0, P of I is T is not equal to backslash 0, condition is true, we go to the next character. H not equal to backslash 0, I not equal to backslash 0, S not equal to backslash 0, I becomes 4, P of I is backslash 0, not equal to backslash 0 is false, printf length is %d. So this can count whether it is this string or this string, whether the spaces are there or not. It will always find the length correctly. You will require this type of thing almost 100 and 1000 times to find the length in the next 3 years to come. To print each character on new line or on separate lines. This is the task. Job will be as simple as saying while the string is not over, as long as you don't reach backslash 0, print the character. How will you print a single character? By %c, P of I. In case of integer array, it was %d, whatever is the array position, A of I. Here it is character at position I, and then go to the next one. Only thing is to print it on new line. Every time after printing the character, give backslash n. So in this case, the output will be T, H, I, S, like that. to print each word on separate line. What will give us the indication that the word is over? When you reach the space. Okay, so we will simply modify the code and say that while p of I is not equal to \0, I will check if p of I is equal to space. Now so many students ask me how to input this character. It's not the character, it is the space bar. Single quote, space bar, single quote, complete. Okay, so if it is a space character, what do you want to print? You want to go to the next line, \n. Space milegi to go to the new line, else print the character, but don't give \n here, and then go to the next character. So in this case the output will be initially I is 0, so it will be p of 0, which is t, not equal to \0. Is it space? No. So we print t. I gets incremented. We go back, it is not \0, it is not space, h will be printed. Control is on the same line. We are not printing \n. Then it is I, then s, and then we reach space. If it is space, print new line. So control comes to the next line. We skip that space. We go back. It is not space. I, S, then E, A, S, Y, full stop. We'll print each word on a separate line. The underlying assumption is two words are separated by a single space. If there are multiple spaces between two words, then those many lines will be skipped. Suppose between this and is there are 4 spaces, then 3 lines will be skipped, because 4 times it will go to the new line. So 3 blank lines will be there. That is the assumption. Under this assumption, this code will work. One has to state the assumption also while writing it. Now I want the output where it should appear as this colon 4 is colon 2 easy colon 5. That means word followed by its length. The base code will be this. What will be the logic? As long as you are printing the character on the same line, keep a counter. Whenever you reach space, print that counter and reset it to 0. Initially it is 1, 2, 3, 4. You reach space. So पहले 4 print करो, set counter to 0. So from I it will again start counting from 1, 2 onwards. Set a counter. Whenever you are printing the character on the same line, increment the counter. Whenever you reach the space, print the counter and reset it to 0. Okay. I am using k as a counter. I'm just using the code other way around. If P of I is not equal to space, if P of I is not equal to space, in that case, you will have to first of all print the character and increment the counter, because that is how we have spoken it. As long as you have non-space character, like this else part, I am writing it as true part over there. If it is not a space, print the character, increment the counter. Else, when you reach space, first of all you will have to print colon and the value of the counter. So you will say printf double quotes colon %d \n k. So that colon will be printed when you reach the space, value will be printed, you will go to the new line. But not only that, you will have to set k to 0 also, because for the next word it should be 0. Okay, and then go to the next character. This will give the output as this :4 is :2 easy full stop :5, with the same underlying assumption that two words are separated by a single space. To count number of uppercase letters, to count number of uppercase characters, I require counter, which will be initially 0, position to go through that string I 0. I will have to scan each and every character. So while P of I is not equal to \0, how will I check whether it is uppercase? I can say that if P of I is greater than or equal to single quote capital A, it is between capital A and capital Z, no? So it should be greater than or equal to capital A, and P of I should be less than or equal to capital Z, then counter equal to counter plus 1, and then go to the next character. Printf number of uppercase characters is equal to %d cnt. You can very well go for lowercase. आज छुट्टी है. रिजल्ट क्या हुआ तुम्हारा? गुड, कांग्रेट्स. नहीं नहीं नहीं, एक्चुअली फ्राइडे को कोई नहीं आया. हार्डली 7-8 स्टूडेंट्स वेर देयर. When? Today? But I thought that nobody will be coming, so and nobody came also, like.
Sorry sir for the inconvenience.
So to count how many uppercase characters are there. In this case, output will come out to be 1. If the input is this is easy, there is only one uppercase character. To print the string in reverse. For example, if input is very simple, then output should be okay, a simple task actually. First of all, we should hit the end. As long as you don't get \0, go ahead. So this will take us to the end of the string. But where you are right now, the position of I, it contains \0. That is not the last character. You will have to come one step before it. Okay. So now I is at \0. Decrement it to reach last position or last character, because \0 is not the part of the string. Okay. So we decrement I, and from there we will have to come till 0th position. Print 0th position also and then stop. So we will have to say while I is greater than or equal to 0, क्योंकि 0 भी print करना है, we'll print the character and we should decrement I. We'll do that job for us. Of course, just to remind you that all these things can be written very easily by something like for I equal to 0, P of I not equal to \0, I equal to I plus 1, semicolon, no body to this for loop. This would have been my second statement for I equal to I minus 1, I greater than or equal to 0, I equal to I minus 1, printf %c P of I. The code would have been that simple, just 3 lines code. Reach the end, decrement it, and till the first character keep on printing. This will be executed only once, and then our usual loop. Execution is identical. Any doubt up till now? So we have done several things. We have counted the length. We have printed each word on separate line. We have printed each word on separate line. Then we have counted how many uppercase characters are there. We have counted length of each word and printed that. We have printed the string in reverse. What next? We are still using only one string. I am not going for the second string at all. So nothing like copy, compare, concat, ये कुछ नहीं करेंगे आज. Now what if the string contains or the words are separated by more than one space? अभी तक जो कुछ भी किया था, it was under the assumption, so far as words are concerned, that the two words are separated by a single space. What if there are multiple spaces? Then we will obviously say that skip the word that is non-spaces. Whenever you reach the first space, increment the counter, word counter. Then you have space, so skip all the successive spaces till you reach a non-space. That is the beginning of the next word. From there, skip all the non-spaces. You are moving over a word. Whenever you reach the space, second word is over. You are at the space. Skip all the successive spaces till you get a non-space. So it is a loop inside a loop that we will have to work out. Okay. So the job is to count number of spaces. Number of words when two words are. To count number of words when words may be separated by more than single space or one space. So I am setting the WCNT to 0, word counter to 0. Just another variable name, I equal to 0. While P of I is not equal to \0. Initially हमने कहा है कि we will have to skip all the non-spaces till we reach a space. That job can be done by saying that while P of I is not equal to space, I equal to I plus 1. What will this do? This will skip the word. As long as you don't have space, you are just moving ahead. So you are moving over that particular word. When you reach the space, this condition will become false. You are outside. What does it mean? One word is over. So increment the counter. One word is over. Now you are sure that you are at space and there could be several spaces, so you are required to skip the spaces. So we will say that while P of I is equal to space, I equal to I plus 1. So you will be again at non-space and you will go back. So skip the word, this will skip spaces. For example, this is not simple. So I equal to 0, I come here, I enter the loop. While P of I not equal to space, so this is not space, not a space, not a space, not a space. and we hit the space, that is at I equal to 4. We are outside the first loop. Here W, C and T will become 1. We enter the second loop. P of I is space. So I plus 1, 5, space. I plus 1, 6, space. Plus 1, 7, not a space. Okay? It goes back. P of I is not equal to backslash 0. So it enters into the first loop from 7, 8. And then at 9 it comes out. This was my word. This was my spaces. At 9, first loop is over. W, C and T will become 2. It is at space. It will go ahead till N and will halt. With N it will go back. Okay? And will continue doing that. Only thing is, you will find that here word counter, यहाँ पे क्या होगा, space पे आके वो बाहर आ जाएगा. So W, C and T will become 3. P of I is space, so I plus 1, it will be at S. And P of I is not equal to space, it will come out of that loop, will go back, S is not equal to backslash 0, it will continue. Now what happens is, after simple, there is directly backslash 0. So this is not space, not space, not space, space नहीं है, 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 you are going out of the string. और ऐसा क्यों हुआ? क्योंकि backslash 0 is not a space. So you will have to modify this condition and say that as long as you don't get a space or you don't get backslash 0 or and it should not be a space and it should not be backslash 0, otherwise it might go into infinite loop because we don't give a space in between. And so if it is backslash 0, it will come out, counter will be incremented, will become 4, that is what is expected. P of I is at backslash 0, is not equal to space, so it won't increment I, it will stay at backslash 0. P of I is backslash 0, it will come out. So even if there are multiple spaces, still it will work. Now the common question that the college people might ask is, what if there is a space between simple and full stop? But then in that case, as per our logic, full stop will be counted as a word. बाकी कुछ नहीं होगा. Output for this will be 5 words. Will be 5 words. Okay? Of course, अब पूछना ही है तो कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं. They can say, what if there are leading spaces? Now what will happen? We come here, it is space, we won't enter into this, counter is incremented. It will be incremented, spaces will be skipped, and then we go ahead. In that case, due to leading spaces, our answer will go wrong by 1, because it has counted. Okay? But normally, there are no leading spaces. But this problem, it is very difficult to eliminate. For us, full stop separated from simple will form a word. We can't help. We have also calculated it as the part of the word when we have counted the length of easy as 5, because it was easy full stop. Okay? Okay. So here it's one loop, here is second loop, and this is not inside any loop. I said, skip the word, increment counter, skip the spaces, skip the word. Next job. To convert the input string to uppercase. To convert the input string to uppercase. Suppose this is the input, then the output should be this way. Whatever is the input character, replace it by the corresponding uppercase. If it is lowercase, if it is any other character like a space, leave it as it is. If it is question mark, leave it as it is. Only the lowercase characters should be converted to uppercase. How will I check whether it is lowercase? It is P of I greater than or equal to small a and P of I less than or equal to small z. Now I am sure that it is lowercase. How to convert it to uppercase? Remember that in ASCII table these are successive characters. So suppose I have character K like A, B, C, D, E, F, okay, character G. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I subtract from G character A, then I know that A plus 1 will be B. B plus 1 is C, like that. So character G minus character A will come out to be the distance of character G from A. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it will be 6. For C it will be 2. For D it will be 3. For Z it will be 25. For A it is 0. Na? So what I will do here is I will say from P of I subtract character A. So I am finding the distance of this lowercase character from small a. So for small a it will be 0, for small z it will be 25 or any other value in between. This will be the ASCII value subtraction. You will have to write the code like this only. Suppose I get distance as 6, but then from capital A to capital G the distance is same. So what I will do, I will pick up this distance and add it to capital A. Find the distance of the lowercase character from small a, and at that distance pick up the character from capital A. So capital A plus 6 will come out to be capital G. And where do you want to store it? In P of I. We will convert every lowercase character to uppercase. All other characters are intact. It is to find the distance of the current character from small a and pick up the character at the same distance from capital A. This will give me distance of the character from small a. And you, if you want, you can also make a note that character b minus character a is 1, character c minus character a is 2, like that. Also other way around, capital A plus 1 will be capital B, capital A plus 2 equal to capital C, and so on. So you are getting an integer value over here which you will be adding to capital A. A figure like this also may help you. Small a plus 1 is small b plus 1 is small c. Only thing is, it is not a plus 1, it should be single quote a plus 1. Because otherwise a will be variable. Next one.